Well, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is that you're having. Yep,
Hi.
it it's Transformation Tuesday, and it's March 26, 2024. So let's just breathe in here. Breathe into the moment right here, right now. And let's breathe in again and bring to mind some courage that you've had to have to step out of that comfort zone in the last whatever years. 2024 has been a allowing, opening new doors in 2024. So let's bring that to mind. And yes, it's Transformation Tuesdays with Paradigm Shifters. And yep, we've been doing this every Tuesday, right? Persistence, consistency since March of 2020. So we've hit our 4 year mark. And I know everybody in here is like, wow, the guests we've had on, the speakers, the transformations that we've witnessed. And I just love it. And we keep growing and growing. So the topic for March has been and is allowing new growth, just allowing new growth. And this week is the week before Easter. In some traditions, it's Holy Week, and we've watched the faith take action and letting go of the old and allowing new. And I wanted to read just a little bit of something before we introduce Lori to us. This is from Each Day a New Beginning, daily meditation for women. And the quote I'm going to read is from Amelia Earhart. And I love this. I want to do it because I want to do it. Women must try to do things as men have tried. When they fail, their failure must be but a challenge to others. Isn't that powerful?
I love that. It's perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so we're going to have Lori Harris come on in here. She was a guest earlier in our many years ago. I say many years, seems like a long time ago. And I wanted to have Lori come on because I was listening to her the other week and she's up to some breakthrough stuff in the world. I think because you've done some breakthroughs. So can you like maybe introduce yourself, where you've been, where you're from, and all of that, and tell us where you're going and how we can support you and what you're
I love
doing.
that. Thank you so much. As you said, my name's Lori Harris. I retired from practicing law on a regular, repeated basis in 2021. Prior to becoming a full-time coach, I worked as a defense attorney. And since that time, I've been devoting myself to my practice as a coach. I started as what's known as a dream builder coach, trained by the Brave Thinking Institute. And in 2018, I elevated to life mastery consultant. And a life mastery consultant is a professional track for those coaches, those certified coaches that go through the Brave Thinking Institute. I have over time worked with different organizations, but what I love about the Brave Thinking Institute is this is an organization that said, as they went into 2020, they set a goal of 1 billion dreams achieved. And I love that because with having a specific, measurable, and identified goal, it puts the course of the community on the same track. And when one person makes a promise to themselves about what they're going to do with this one life that we get to have, it has a ripple effect. So I'm excited to be part of that organization. 1 billion dreams achieved is amazing. And I see it happening right here and right now. So in my practice as a coach, I work with high achieving women. I work with women who tend to be executives in large organizations, whether they're working for a presidential administration, running whole departments, or nonprofit organizations set about the business of creating change. I kind of have a problem with the term nonprofit because it kind of makes it sound like unsuccessful to me, to my ears. Nonprofit means that, this business didn't make money. And the reality of it is a charitable organization is formed for the benefit of the community, to dedicate themselves to a mission for the benefit of the community at large. And it's perfectly fine to make a profit, but you're going to put that money back into the organization to continue your work serving the community. So I like purpose driven. I accidentally said nonprofit, but I work with purpose driven organizations that are about the business of making change. And what I found is my clients tend to be high achievers. They get a lot done in their work, and they want to do even more. But they've reached this point in life where working harder is no longer working. They've kind of reached a wall, and but their desire hasn't gone away. Their desire to do more hasn't gone anywhere. And so with that, I want to do more, but I don't have any more in the tank to give. I teach them new techniques and skills to tap into an unlimited power that's always been available to them, that's always existed within them. And part of it is, as Amelia Earhart said, because I want to, with their own desire. And there is power in desire. And I help my clients achieve that. And we stop compartmentalizing our lives and decide, oh, it's not my work life and my personal life, it's my life. And when I feed into that part of me that is feeling a desire and I allow myself to have it, my entire life flourishes. So that's what I help my clients to discover. We engage in what I call radical truth telling. We tell the truth to ourselves, to the universe. We make bold requests of the universe and expect to receive. So you asked me what I'm up to now, and I'm super excited about what I'm up to now because with my coach, almost a decade ago, I went to Concord, Massachusetts, Walden Pond. And, maybe I was just poorly educated. I don't know. But I didn't know a whole lot about it. But I knew that it was the home of the American Revolution. And I also was like, I don't know why that should matter to me. Because in my education, I had been, just like, oh, Black folks in the United States, they're all slaves. They're all descendants of slaves. That's what's going on with them. And I was really tired of that part of the record. I was ready to move the needle somewhere else and go to another way of thinking and being. So I'm there with my coach, and she's telling me about Walden Pond and Henry David Thoreau, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Louisa May Alcott, Hawthorne. And I'm listening to them, and I'm listening to my teacher tell me about what she called the Concord conversation. And I was really, really trying to stay in the room. But, I was like, it's just a bunch of old white folks talking about what they care about. And I don't want to hear it. And I really struggled. I struggled to stay in the room. And so, when you're in yoga class and the teacher's like, don't worry about the poses, just stay in the room. There's some value in you staying in the room. So my mechanism for staying in the room was listening to my coach, my teacher, say that, Henry David Thoreau was dedicated to ending slavery. And then that piqued my interest. And then she told me that he had gone to jail for what he believed in. And she said that he was opposed to the war and said, I am not going, I think this war is all about expand a Mexico-American war. I think this is all about expansion and trying to spread slavery around North America, and I don't support it. And so I'm not going to pay taxes to a country that wants to spread slavery. I won't do it. And they said, we'll lock you up. And he said, and he went to jail. And that is the thing that was the key that opened the door for me to keep me to stay in the room. And so I went to Concord in 2014 and I started a little bit of my study, just a little bit. I came back in 2015 and I learned about the contributions that Blacks had made to the American Revolution. Again, it keeps me in the room. And there's a very famous Nigerian writer named Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. And she's got a very famous TED Talk that says the power of a singular story. And she talked about coming to the United States from Nigeria to study. I believe she was at an Ivy school, probably Harvard, but I'm not positive. She was here studying. And that was when she became aware of the fact that when people saw her, they saw her as a Black woman. She lived in Nigeria and she was surrounded by people who looked like her. And so that was never an issue for her. But coming to the United States, she has this new roommate who has a very singular way of looking at her. And she, rather than getting angry, she got curious. Why is it that this woman sees me this way? And so the writer, Miss Adichie, talks about the power of a singular story. And she didn't like other her roommate. She said, this thing that we do, putting people in boxes, I've done it too. You know, my mom might want to donate clothes to someone who's less fortunate in our homeland. And I immediately have a box to put these people in. But then later I realized, well, you know, they may not just be people in need. They're people who have interest and hobbies and things to contribute to the world. And so let me not put them in this box of, oh, these are the poor people, or these are the people that are servants, or these are the people that need. They're complicated people. So then over comes across the ocean and she has this experience with her roommate. It's very young and she just can't see the person in front of her. She's got a set idea of who she is. And so I was very moved by the story of, oh, we do that to each other. It's not other people do that. I do that. And that's part of the way the brain works. Our brains, the primary job of our brain is to keep us alive, to tell us what to do, and it can't be, it's always looking for shortcuts. The brain can't be saying, oh, okay, how do I breathe? What do I do? In order to get this body moving, I need to do this, this, and this. No, it has to become automatic, right? And so there are all these shortcuts that the brain goes through to keep the body moving. And once had an experience, then it kind of becomes set and says, oh, that's how that works. So through no fault of anyone's, it's a very diverse country. The United States is a very diverse place. It is an experiment and it's unlike anything else. And so there are all these people together trying to figure out how to get along. And on some levels, we have had limited experiences. And so we might tend to think of a group of people one way or another. And I'm learning more and more every day that we're just more than any one experience. And I want to incorporate that. So as a kid, and Judy, you might have had this experience as a child, you're in school and everyone's like, oh, I'm part Italian. Oh, I'm part Irish. I'm part British. And, if you are the one Black kid in the class and all you've been taught is your people are the descendants of slaves, then what are you? Because you're not going to just say, well, we came from Africa. Africa is a continent, just like Europe is part of a continent. So people are pointing to specific places. And I had a huge desire to be able to say, I'm this, and I'm from here. But I couldn't fulfill that when I was a child. And so, we're in class and they get to history and it's just like I'm Charlie Brown. Wah, wah, wah. I'm not listening because I refuse to accept that singular story. So Mary says that, Thoreau was a big um, anti-slavery proponent, and that opened the door. And I learned so much. And I want to share that with people because there's a lot to learn, a lot to learn.
You just opened up my eyes. Yeah. Wow. The power of a singular story. Hmm. And to stay curious to whoever you meet. So where has that led you in like your daily work right now? I know you, and I know, and what are you planning on
Well,
going? How has this
um,
opened up? How has this given you new growth? And
well,
how
it's
are you?
very exciting. It's very exciting because, you know, there's a beauty in asking a different question. And so, I'm saying, well, how does this relate to me? And Mary gives me this little nugget of, well, he was an anti slavery advocate. And, you know, Concord, Massachusetts is believed to be a sacred site, the site of the start of the American Revolution, the site of the start of the United States contribution to philosophy, to religion, is transcendentalism. Starts right there in Concord. And we know that much of New England was inhabited by indigenous people and they regarded the land as special. So Concord is believed to be a sacred site. And all these really important things happen in Concord. So I am exploring Concord as a location that is a sacred site, not just in terms of the American Revolution, but the revolution of us as a people and how connected we are. And there's something called Black Walden. And Henry David Thoreau was inspired to do his experiment by a Black woman. So we know that Henry David Thoreau engaged in an experiment whereby he went to live in the woods for a period of 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days. We know that. But we aren't, a feature of the story isn't that the reason why he wants to do this is because he's seen this Black woman doing it. And that's huge because we know how even today we look at women and what they do and what they don't do, what they're capable of, what they're not capable of. So Amelia Earhart says, I want to explore the world. I want to be a pilot. Well, why do you want to do that? Because I want to. And that's a powerful thing because I want to. And so Henry David Thoreau, we quote him 200 years later, right? We're still quoting him. The very first workshop I went to for the Brave Thinking Institute, I'm sitting in the second row and Mary starts to talk. She says, if one advances confidently in the directions of their dreams, endeavoring to live the life they imagine. I'm sitting there, I'm mouthing the words with her. I kind of know about Henry David Thoreau. I don't really know that quote is connected to Henry David Thoreau, but I know the quote. And the reason why that matters is it's ubiquitous. That's the whole thing about ubiquity is it's so all around you. It permeates everything about the world that you live in. At some point, you don't even know the origin of it. It's like the fish. It's like this thing you call water. Where is it? It's ubiquitous. So I know this quote. I don't know who the author of this quote is, but I'm able to mouth the words. And then later, it's Henry David Thoreau. And he's giving us a code. Why is he living in the forest because he's saying this woman. Not only is it a woman living in the forest by herself, it's a Black woman living in the forest by herself. That's wild. How'd that happen? What am I going to, I'm going to check that out and see how I'm going to do that. What can I learn when I do that? And it's not just Zilpa. Her name's Zilpa White. It's not just Zilpa. There are other people in the forest. And there's remnants of other people in the forest. And Henry was curious about it. So we know that the American Revolution started there. We know that transcendentalism started there. And transcendentalism is all about thoughts become things. What do we think? What do we want? What are we going to do? The world that we are creating, let's take responsibility for it. What are we doing with these thoughts? Where are we putting them? So they're sitting there thinking, but it's not just that. So there's these Greek thinkers, Thoreau, Emerson, Alcott, Hawthorne. They get together every weekend and talk in the parlor. We can get together every weekend. We can have our own meetings. When we get together and we're going to have a talk, we can be the kind of people who are talking about ideas or how to make things better instead of gossiping or complaining or lamenting. So what would happen if a bunch of open-hearted, kind-hearted people got together and did what they wanted to do? We changed the world. And so I'm bringing people to Concord, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to learn about Black people in the American Revolution. We're going to talk about why were Black people so inspiring to Henry David Thoreau. Who were these Black people? We're going to talk about the Underground Railroad. We're going to talk about the Underground Railroad is present in Concord. It's a spot. It's a stop on the Underground Railroad. We're going to talk about the Alcotts, the Hawthorns, the Emersons, the Thoreaus. They were actively involved in the Underground Railroad. And so what I can tell you for sure is wherever people are being oppressed, there are people that are resisting said oppression. Wherever people are being oppressed, there are people who are resisting that oppression, and they're not doing it by themselves. So when I say Black Walden, I'm not just talking to Black people, for Black people. I'm talking to everybody because we need allies. And who were our allies? They were the Thoreaus, the Emersons, the Alcotts, and lots of people whose names we don't necessarily remember, but we know they were doing it. And they need to be recognized and honored for the work that they were doing because it was significant. There were 2 Fugitive Slave Acts. The second one, 1850, was so harsh and so oppressive that if someone said, I'm on the side of ending slavery, they're doing it at great risk. They can lose all of their livelihood. They can lose everything that they've ever worked hard for. They can lose their liberty. So
Right.
fines, liberty, property. What else is left, right? You're gonna take my stuff, you're gonna take my money, you're gonna take my body. What else is left? And yet and still, the Thoreaus, the Emersons, the Alcotts, and others were active members of the Underground Railroad. Louisa May Alcott said, of all the many books I've written, the thing I'm most proud of is my role on the Underground Railroad. Her sister went and served in the Civil War. They didn't just talk about, we want to do something. They had skin in the game. You know, there's the pig and there's the bacon.
Wow. Wow.
So I'm excited about it. And it
You know,
have a connection to this place.
you know how important this is about allowing new growth, to allowing the openness to the ask a different question, and why not why don't we hear about this and this and this, but now is the time in 2024 to be hearing stories of the people that we don't know, the people in the background, the people, the al and my question to you is, how can we be allies? And I love the fact that you said, getting groups, I think conscious conversations, right? Where having conscious conversations about who we are as people. My relatives were immigrants from Poland, and there's some stories there in the coal mining regions of Pennsylvania, and there's some really deep stories from my parents and grandparents. Many of them died in the coal mines from the black lung, but and there's there's it's time for these conscious conversations. Oh, I don't know, how did you put that? It was so important. um and that the Thoreaus, the Emersons, and the Alcotts were allies. Now, I went to Concord with my daughter. She lives in Boston, and we spent a week. um just her and I went, and her interest is in the spirituality
Mhm.
of the different people. So we would go. This is something we would go to the graves, and she would tell us what the different symbols on the grave meant, um, as far as their beliefs in the afterlife.
Oh,
And yeah, and that was like, how do you? Because she was interested in it. She's very interested in it, and it gives me so much hope to to um, understand. And I'll never forget going up to the Sleepy Hollow and seeing Emerson's grave, that great big crystal. It's a
mhm.
great big crystal. Like, how did they get that up there? But nothing fancy. But there was something about that area that is so primed for new ideas, not even new ideas, curiosity.
Right.
Stay curious.
And
I'm
if
so grateful for what you're about, for what you're doing. And man, I mean, there's there's some books coming out of this. So can you once again mention the TED Talks? Can you tell me who that is? I want to look that up
uh,
again.
I think it's called The Power of a Singular Story. And the
Okay.
woman's name, I'm gonna put it in the chat because it's Nigerian, and so it's not something that we hear every day, but it's possible to get it. She's also the book author of the book We Should All Be Feminists.
I love it. Love it. Well, can you? Here's what I would like to do now. First of all, thank you so much for taking time to come and just enlighten us. And could you? What we'd love to do is to put a blessing on you and ask you, what would you love? What is your vision? What would you love to have us hold as a community? How we can get a hold of you? And oh yeah, there you go. Thank you for that, putting in that in the chat. But how we can get a hold of you, and um, definitely to be continued. um, when all this is, it feels like it's like bubbling up and bubbling up. It is happening. And so anyway, what can we hold for you from
Well,
our
this
community?
is I'm planning a retreat to go to the location so that we can all study and be in the energy of this divine place. It's an energy vortex. There are ley lines there. There are things that are happening there. There's a reason why all these things happen. And so I'm inviting people of the community to come and join me in Concord, Massachusetts this fall, October 31st through November 3rd. It's going to be my very first retreat. I've never taken a group of people on a journey such as this. We're going to go to the Robbins House, which is the only house in North America that honors African American participants in the American Revolution. We are going to check out Thoreau's cabin in the woods, and the original Thoreau house where he lived with his siblings and his aunt and his dad and mom and all that. We'll go to the old manse, and we'll check out Miss Alcott. It's really a beautiful place. And what I would love for people to experience is a positive blessing on why this matters and how does it relate to me. And so, if in fact it's true that it is the home of the American Revolution, it is the home of the revolution of spiritual thought, I invite people to join me in discovering their own personal revolution in what's possible for them and their contribution to the world. You can find me, even if you never remember my name, you can find me at gratitudetrain.com. And I am sharing with Judy a sign up sheet just to get on the wait list to learn more about this retreat that's coming in the fall. It's going to be very limited seats, but I'm starting small. So I'm going to take a handful of people with me, and we're going to go. We're going to say thank you. We're going to honor the people that went before us. We're going to look at the places that maybe Harriet Tubman was there, where John Brown might have been, where Henry David Thoreau might have been. And we're going to put a blessing on the sacred land and do some exercises so we can go forward into the world feeling inspired, leaving behind those things that no longer serve us and planting a firm foundation going forward. And I'd love for people to join me. So get the sign up sheet from Judy or look for me at gratitudetrain.com. It'll be all good.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Thank you so much for what you're doing, and what a great year to be doing it, 2024. This opening up, opening up. So thank you so much, Lori. So appreciate you being here. Wow.
Super fast. Thank you so much.
Amen. Wow.